Hello and welcome to the PC Gaming Weekspot pre-show. This is actually quite an apt pre-show because this is indeed the Spotty Awards 2020. So I feel like, you know, E does these red carpet pre-show things when people are coming in and the hosts are asking what other people are wearing. So, Matthew Castle, what are you wearing?
I'm wearing M&S Luxury.
Ooh. That would, I'd love it if, they went up to Christian Bale or something. M&S Luxury is what I've decided today for
I'm
the
wearing
Oscars.
Luxury by, have you heard of M&S? And they're like, no. They're very, very cutting edge back in the UK. So,
how are you, Matthew? How is we're close to Christmas.
I am pumped for Christmas.
Excellent. As am I. I still need to do a bit more shopping and all that, but that will all be done in due course. I'd like to break the fourth wall to the people at home. We record these before you see them anyway, but we're recording this even more before you see them because, we're all breaking for Christmas holidays. So, we're getting it done a little bit beforehand, but I need to try and brave the shops at the weekend, Matthew, and it's going to be an absolute shit show, I imagine.
I've had a terrible time of it this year. I did all my Christmas shopping really far in advance, and I've been absolutely fucked by deliveries. Stuff that was sent out and never arrived. Just our post has just been chaotic these last couple of weeks. Things I ordered 3 months ago that are still being waiting to be dispatched. Just terrible. And I know everyone's up against it, but unfortunately, it's like all of Catherine's Christmas presents. So now I've got to go out and buy some fucking junk. So at least there's something on Christmas Day.
Don't tell her that. Don't tell her it's junk.
A real shit. She doesn't watch this show.
Is 3 months? Did you buy from America or something? Because I'm just like
no. Admittedly, I ordered some stuff it was like pre-order this stuff because it's coming out soon.
Okay,
and then it's either been delayed or just seemingly vanished off the face of the earth. I think this is karma for having a relatively smooth ride getting hold of a PlayStation 5.
Right, yeah.
That everyone else, all my other posts is doomed.
Of course, you would have gone for a more bumpier PlayStation 5 ride to get all of the presents. If you could have.
Oh yeah, I would happily exchange this PS5 for the Christmas presents I wanted to give. My PlayStation 5 is already gathering dust and seems like an unwise purchase. What was I thinking? I've got a PC. It does everything better.
Well, that's what. I haven't bought any of the new consoles yet because I bought the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 when the two of those came out, and straight away, my Xbox was gathering dust. My PlayStation wasn't doing great either, so I was like, meh.
My angle has always been, I try and calculate the freelance I'll get off the back of it.
Yeah.
And that's fine, except there are no exclusive games on Xbox for a year, which isn't great. So there's nothing on that front. And on PlayStation, it's still pretty dry. Everyone was like, oh, it had Demon's Souls, it had Miles Morales. And you're like, yes, and then? And it's a bit, yes, nothing. So currently, I just see it as a pile of debt waiting to pay itself off.
Yeah, it's an investment for the future.
A very rumbly controller.
A lovely controller, yes.
A lovely rumble mode.
Well, as we are reflecting on things that have happened in 2020 in the console space, let's do that in PC video games and begin the PC Gaming Weekspot Spotty Awards 2020. Welcome to the PC Gaming Weekspot, your recap of the last 7 days in PC video gaming. Normally, but not today. My name is Colin Mahern, and joining me for a slightly different edition of the PC Gaming Weekspot, it is the one, the only, the always dapper, Mr. Matthew Castle.
Hello.
Hello, Matthew. How are you?
Good. I've had a haircut.
You've had a Christmas haircut.
Christmas haircut.
You're looking lovely. See, I feel a bit underdressed now because this is indeed a special edition. So hang on, let me see here. This won't play well in the audio edition, but I do have something here to
Ooh.
There you go. Now I'm a little bit more fancy.
Yeah.
For this.
What I like is you putting that tie around your neck like that has instantly made you look 10 times trendier than I do in this fucking tux. I'm so anti-style that that's all it takes. You genuinely look all right like that.
Thanks very much. I mean, I don't know. There's a fine line between
Austin Powers. He has a little scarf like that.
Well, that's why. Maybe I'd look all right in 1969 rather than 2020. I don't really know. But yes, this is a special edition of the PC Gaming Weekspot because we're not going to be recapping the last 7 days in PC gaming. We're going to be recapping the last 2020 and the video games that we thoroughly enjoyed as we have created the inaugural edition of the Spotty Awards 2020. And what that is, basically, is I present four of my favourite video games. Matthew presents 4 of his favourite video games from the past year. And then we say, and our game of the year is blank. It's just a celebration.
When does Christopher Nolan present an award?
Christopher Nolan is meant to be showing up, all right. There was an American basketball presenter as well. Do you know what I enjoyed? I mean, this is a side tangent. It's a relaxed edition of the PC Gaming Weekspot, but how every announcement of a presenter for Jeff Keighley's Game Awards, they were all bigged up, but no celebrity from video games because there are none. It was all movies, television.
Nolan North.
Yeah, I suppose we weren't able to get Nolan North for this, I'm afraid.
No, well, we have got Steven Spielberg to give an award, right? Didn't you say we were doing that?
Yeah. Welcome to the Spotty Awards 2020. So yes, we have explained how this is going to work. So, Matthew, if you would like to start, what is one of your favourite games of 2020 and why? Why, Matthew?
I'm going to kick off with Gears Tactics.
Ooh.
A game which took a big burly universe that I like, but I'm not massively in love with, and shrunk it down into tiny little miniatures. So they're big, muscly men, but they're very tiny on screen. And I thought this did a really good job of a sort of turn-based tactics, XCOM-alike. This was a really great marriage of quite familiar turn-based tactics ideas and a little bit of Gears pizzazz.
When you say Gears pizzazz, just the cinematicness of it and just the big...
It's really it's a really aggressive tactics game. It actually has some of the rhythm of Gears, and it rewards you for the same stuff that Gears rewards you for, kind of pushing forward quite aggressively. There are a lot of moves which are about kind of earning back action points, so you can have these great long extended turns where you kill 15 people between your little squad. So it's got this real bloodlust, which I associate with Gears. I just really liked the abilities and skill trees in this game. I thought they were really fun. I thought they actually created this amazing interplay all of its own. Just felt a lot more exotic compared to some of the tricks I rely on in XCOM. And it's interesting because it came out at the same time as XCOM Chimera Squad, which itself had a lot of interesting stuff compared to usual XCOM. You know, it was quite experimental, but I thought that felt very, very flat compared to the kind of, I guess, momentum of Gears Tactics.
Like, it's, you know, they had obviously done it previously with, was that just Halo? No, what was that called? Not Halo Tactics.
Halo Wars.
Halo Wars. Yeah. So, like, you know, it wasn't totally outlandish for them to take an established series and shrink it down and do something different with it. But by all accounts, like, Gears Tactics is a game that I didn't really get around to. So I never got to grips with it, even though I love the Gears universe, you know, for all its silliness, I suppose. I'm very much invested in it. And this looked like a terrific recreation of that. Because as you say, it has even the environments and everything around you, all the enemies, everything is designed just as it would be in a Gears game, but it's just zoomed out, essentially. Yeah,
that's it. Things behave like they should behave. I mean, I'm not going to say it's a perfect game because you know, I think part of the surprise of this, it was that it was a surprise. You know, I don't think anyone, when they announced Gears Tactics, was like, yes, Gears Tactics is going to be amazing.
I don't know. I think maybe they were, because wasn't that just previously they had announced Gears Pop and people were like, oh,
maybe they had. But they sort of showed a trailer and then they didn't talk about it. And then they previewed it about a month before it came out. And in the preview, I was like, oh, whoa, actually, this is great. Like, I would have been sort of talking this up a bit more because I really liked what was in the preview. And then I really liked the final game. But even so, it still does feel like, you know, while successful, it is like a first go at this particular you know, genre for them. And while it gets loads right, like the powers, I really like the Overwatch game. I should add that as well. But it's just really clear and creates a bit more of a kind of sort of spatial puzzle with sort of you know, where you put down these vision cones. It's just, it works really well. But the actual mission types are like pretty simple. There's a lot of repetition. I mean, you know, there are a few story levels where like specific interesting things happen, but a lot of the time you begin to see like certain level elements repeating. It's got this big focus on loot, which I quite like in terms of sort of empowering my heroes through the campaign. But it also has this really massive end game where it just like basically just generates endless levels, which are fine. And it's quite nice just to sort of mess around with those skill sets in that space. But it also like doesn't have quite enough variety. I really hope that the kind of generally good critical consensus behind this game means they get to take a second swing and do Gears Tactics 2 and really like nail the kind of campaign around the systems. Yeah, because I think it's got a lot of stuff right. It just needs it deserves a second go. And I think this, you know, this in itself is a great game, great fun to play. But I really think it could easily be like an exceptional game.
Well, I think it did come to consoles in the end, didn't it? It came to
when the Xbox Series X launched.
So, like, you know, with that addition to your audience, I suppose they might get another crack at it. And as you said, like critically, it was received very well.
Yeah, so I hope so. I thought this was great. Like, I love a pleasant surprise. There's very few of them you get these days because everything's so sort of obvious and clear what's going to be good and what's not going to be good. And this was just a real pleasure. I love the look of it. It's so polished, you know, it's so confident in itself, and it's really gooey. It's got a great sniper, which I really like. Just chain together some absolutely absurd kills that each kill then sort of strengthens the next shot, so you're more likely to get a kill, and it all rolls on. It's you feel really powerful in this game, but without feeling like it's a complete pushover.
Right.
It's really good. Honestly, like I've seen lots of people who kind of been put off because of the Gears thing, because they're, you know, I like tactics games. You know, I'm a reasonably intelligent person. I don't like the stupid universe of Gears.
Oh God, muscly, stupid. Oh no, yeah.
But actually, it's a really fun mix of the two, and it really has its own rhythm and energy, and its own Game Pass. Big tick.
Big tick indeed, yes. Well, congratulations, Gears Tactics, for winning the first Spotty Awards. So one of my favourite video games of 2020, I think, was a surprise as well, because the series was more or less dead in the water for numerous years, and they had tried a comeback, but it didn't work. And I know this isn't a new game, but it's a remake.
It's new enough.
It's new enough. It's new enough. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. So this surprised me because, as I said, the last new Tony Hawk game we got was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, which I don't think came out to PC. It was on consoles, and it was bad. It was bad. And they even tried to remake the original Tony Hawk games as well. It was either Just 1 or R1 and 2. And again, it was a complete dud. But Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2, like, first of all, it's been reworked enough in terms of the environments that they're familiar, but things like the abandoned shopping centre has this, which wasn't there before, like, it has this sort of overgrown feel, almost adding to the fact that, like, it's been a while since you've been here. But in terms of how it plays, it does, and I said this at the time, like, it plays how you remember the originals playing, which is the mark of a true great remake. Like, it's so fluid and so, like, even, right? Like, this is the first two games, and they have they've included things that came in the later games, like 3 and 4, with things like the reverting, the wall planting. Manualing was in the second game, but it wasn't in the first one. So what that has done in this package is that it allows you to sort of pick away at the levels in the first game in ways that you couldn't before. You know, like, you can get scores that are even more outlandish than previously. But tying these two games together was terrific, because there's also challenges in this game that sort of keeps the ball rolling in terms of, like, getting you to constantly play these levels over and over. Like, just challenges that span across the two games, all levels, just scoring challenges. There are challenges for different skaters. And it's just that it's that score attack sort of rhythm where you're just constantly trying to better yourself, get better scores across the whole thing. And it sort of reminded me why it's like, playing this game reminded me why these are the skating games I like. Like, I know some people sort of scoff at the more arcadey Tony Hawk games and go in for the skate games. But I don't know, that's maybe because I don't skate, I don't know. Like, but that simulation just doesn't interest me as much. Like,
yeah, I love this arcade tune. It makes me really sort of nostalgic for a time of where everything was high score challenges, and I do feel like this style of game is better represented today, just because I think a lot of indie studios, I think a lot of this stuff can live on in indie games. Big publishers maybe don't take a punt on big arcade projects anymore, even though this, of course, is Activision who are behind this. Yeah, I miss this too. You know, I know Skate and whatnot has its fans, but give me this absurd. I just love the HUD. You know, all the balance bars and everything.
And like, you know, like, there are things like manualing around, kind of boosting your score. Like, skating aficionados, they'll turn up their nose to that, because, like, come on. What's this about?
At the same time, though, like, this is so embedded in
the culture, and
it is part of skateboarding history now. I think Tony Hawk's the games, like, you can't argue with that. Like, you know, it's got the people, you know, it's got the famous faces in it. I think, even if it's quite arcadey, it probably catches the culture in terms of like the setting and the music and all that kind of stuff. It still feels quite authentic. Haven't they aged up all the skaters in this?
So that's another thing. You have your roster of skaters from the original games, but they're all middle-aged now. And also they've included some newer skaters that, have burst on the scene. And I suppose it's a more diverse cast of characters than previously before. It's just...
It's like the idea of all these like 47-year-olds with slightly creaky backs.
I know, it's a mad thought to think. Just going around skates, like, sit down, relax, it's fine. But yeah, I just adored it. I put a lot of hours into this, more than I thought I was ever going to. Because again, when this was announced, I was going, oh, this is going to be shit. You're going to kill my childhood even further. But it's an absolute delight. And yeah, I loved it. So yeah, congratulations, Tony, on the second Spotty Award for this year. So Matthew, what is another video game that you enjoyed in 2020?
I really enjoyed Doom Eternal, which is obviously the follow-up to Doom 2016. Builds on it in a lot of ways, takes what was good about that game and sort of builds it out. It's very much the same kind of hectic, lock you in an arena, you've got to deal with just mountains of trouble, which was great in 2016. I just think it has some new systems that really draw out its strengths. I love the fact that, it's always had this thing of like glory kills to get a bit of health back. And in Doom 2016, you could chainsaw people and they become ammo packs. That kind of relationship sort of developed here. There are also ways of getting you can set people on fire to get armor shards. You have this blood punch, which charges up, which is like this instant kill hit. There's a lot more going on. I think it's got this balance of ammo that forces you to dip into like your whole weapon wheel. Like in 2016, it was possible to just like run around with a super shotgun, just beast the whole thing. Here, it feels like either ammo is running out, so you're forced to kind of dip into everything, or the fact that each enemy has a weak point, which is exploited by a different weapon. So you're naturally constantly switching through. Just as that arcade core of the game, I think is absolutely brilliant. And then it's just livened up with all kinds of fun powers. There's like a slow-mo aerial thing where you can just sort of plant sticky mines on people's heads in slow motion. There's the meat hook, which is like a grappling hook that pulls you towards people. You can upgrade it so it sets them on fire as it pulls you towards them. All that stuff is great. And then it just has this campaign which takes you on a real trip. One of my criticisms of 2016 Doom is it's a little one note in terms of sort of industrial complexes and hell. Here, you're kind of ripped from hell to heaven to weird alien planets from Earth. So you just see a lot more. On a kind of superficial level, it's just a lot more variety, more enemy variety. There's a bit more story than Doom 2016 had, and I don't really care for that stuff. I'm not into the lore of the Doomslayer. That doesn't interest me. But as an excuse to whip you between these quite striking locations, it's great. I absolutely love this game.
When you say you could play it, or it encouraged you to sort of play in different ways, I think I'm remembering this right. Didn't you get different ammo for killing if you went up close to them and chainsawed them, then you would get fuel for the chainsaw? Is that right? And if you
when you chainsaw someone, they drop loads of ammo. So when you glory kill them, they drop health, and when you set them on fire, they drop armor.
Yeah.
So you get different things based on what you do. Definitely.
So again, rather than just standing back and shooting all of them, is sort of
it forces you, like the first game, to just you have to be there in the mix. It's not a game where you stand in the doorway and wait for enemies to pop out of cover. It's a really get up in everything's grill. I really like that it draws you into that style of play. I think that's probably the best thing about both these games, but I felt it more in Doom, was just that it changed my approach to these kind of shooters. You go in trying to play it like I play every other shooter, which is quite cautiously and, with very kind of extreme precision. And actually that doesn't suit the game at all. You're encouraged to kind of push in. The best thing that happened to me in Doom Eternal was I went to a preview event and the producer, Marty Stratton, said, start on like the highest difficulty. And if try it, just try it and see what happens. And if you literally like cannot progress in any way, if you're just hitting this brick wall, only then drop it down one level and just keep dropping it down one level at a time until you hit a spot. And like, as a way of just pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, he was like bang on the money. Like I always I just go for like normal on most things. So I'm like, that's what they've balanced it. But that here, actually, like you need to find a certain level of stress, and then all these moving parts, all these systems, they just click together, and that's where the magic is. If anything, if you take away that little bit of difficulty, if you take away that edge, the whole thing seems a lot flatter as a result. Like you're not connecting with it. You're not actually making use of what they've built. And that isn't to say like you have to play it on the hardest difficulty. It's just you have to play it on the hardest difficulty for you. And that's where this game, that really just changed my sort of perception of it. And there are very few games which actually have the kind of depth of systems that playing on a harder difficulty changes how you actually play or forces you to connect with them. Often it's quite arbitrary bullshit. And, the harder a game is, it feels like the more you're kind of cheesing it to kind of scrape through. Here, it's like, this is built, this is built for you to do this really awesome stuff. And I kind of, that I think is why it really resonated with me. It's a rare game where like difficulty actually meant something.
Did you ever have an issue with because you talk about the game being, urging you to constantly like rush around the place and shoot anything that moves. It's not really like that's what Doom is built upon. But in Doom Eternal, there were enemies that had these weak points. Which seems like it goes against that when it comes to, because there is precision involved there.
Because you can still pummel them, but you have a few precision weapons and you have skills which allow you. So like the ability to jump, to catapult yourself in the air, and then when you go into your secondary aiming, time slows.
Yeah,
gives you the time you need to do like a headshot. If anything, it just goes. You have these tiny pockets of precision you can lean on. Make sure you use them well. Like make sure you target the right enemies. Make sure you target the right bits of the right enemies. And that's where it all kind of comes together. You can still, like, honestly, it's still a romp for most of the part. It's a game all about like priorities and working out who you're going to attack next and who's the enemy for you that causes you the most grief that you maybe want to get rid of. And so it's kind of they always talk about a combat puzzle, and it really has that idea for me. It's not just here's a room, I'll just kill all of these in any order. It's like I really need to. Like for example, there's the infamous Marauders, which are like the guys with the axes that became a bit of a meme because they're kind of quite shitty they're quite hard. They're not bad, but they're quite rough compared to some other enemies. So like you focus on getting rid of everything to kind of open up a window where you can really focus on this very careful kind of monster at the end, for example, and stuff like that. It just it's a really smart game. I mean, a lot of this intelligence was there in 2016, but this just really opens it up, makes it much more of a spectacle. I must admit, I didn't play any of the online stuff. Like I only read the campaign, so I don't know how the kind of it's got this like asymmetrical.
I totally forgot about it until you just mentioned it. Yeah,
yeah. I think some people dig it, but it's just it's not for me. But the campaign, I've played it a couple of times. It's really meaty. I really like it. It's good.
Well done, Doom Eternal, Spotty Award winner 2020. Slightly different to Doom Eternal. Another one of my favorite video games of 2020 was a detective game. I feel like we mentioned detective games quite a lot on the PC Gaming Weekspot, and this one for me was my favorite of 2020. Paradise Killer. Such a delight. Because I know off the top we said, surprises don't happen that often. I mean, this came out of nowhere for me. I was aware it was coming because anytime it was shown off at any sort of game show or whatever, it had, like, in any trailer, it had that music, it had the style, it had this tropical paradise. But I was going, it'll probably be a nice little indie game that I'll play for 20 minutes and move on with my life. But this is such a smart, clever little game because it is, like, it's a mix between an open world sort of, what's his name, Ace Attorney type thing, but also like, but you have the Ace Attorney kind of like visual novel style part of it, but then you also have the open world going around and like there are collectibles, there's just tons to kind of explore. It even becomes a platformer at points when you're trying to get around this beautiful holiday destination. But like one of the main things I enjoy about Paradise Killer is that like the actual solving of its core mystery is really, it's up to you. Like the game never says, well done, you got that right. Because what it is you go around, you chat to all these fucking weird characters.
There's nothing weird about a red skeleton who's also a barman.
And you build this case, and whenever you deem it necessary, you then go to the courtroom and then you present the evidence that you have and you come to the conclusion. But like my conclusion could be different to yours, Matthew, could be different to whomever watching, because the game never says, that's it, yes, the last piece of evidence, now you must finish the game. Like, and I mean, maybe it's like, I can see it being like, or some people having a bit of an issue with it because I probably played it for, I don't know, maybe 2 hours longer than maybe 2 hours is a bit strong. I played it for a little bit longer than I had to because I was trawling around this island going, am I definitely sure? Do I have everything? And I think I more or less ended up with everything.
I like that you can have a really firm idea and then you discover a location you hadn't seen and then suddenly the whole thing is flipped on its head.
I suppose I did mention the characters. Like I love the dialogue in this and I love all the characters because every single one of them, I suppose they just, they fit Paradise Killer and I think they only fit Paradise Killer. Do you know what I mean? Like the protagonist being somebody called Lady Love Dies and you're like, all right, sure. There's the topless Scottish doctor with the pink mohawk, Dr. Doom Jazz. There's just...
It's weird as well because like this game is clearly influenced by, lots of other things. There's a lot of Suda 51 in there. There's a fair dollop of like Danganronpa, but I actually think like the art style and the character art in particular is like completely of its own. Like it's not like a parody of anything. It doesn't really look like anything else. I quite like that it's a game that's clearly influenced by things, but has also just come up with this completely mad strain of its own.
Well, I think like that a lot of that is even down to the fact that like you have this sort of retro infused world, but every character in it is this cardboard cutout. Like it looks jarring at first, but then kind of once you're into it and you're solving this mystery, you just sort of go with it. And it's because of everything within this world, and a lot of praise has been heaped on Paradise Killer's soundtrack as well. Because I mean, and rightly so, it's brilliant.
Oh, it is amazing.
It is just this groovy, full of bass licks, synthesizers, everything. Like it's 80. It's kind of like half 80s. Like there's a Japanese kind of influence in the music as well, and it's sort of, whilst it goes against, I mean, everything about this game. Like this game is set in this tropical paradise, but. And obviously the music is sort of like bouncy and upbeat, but then you have this horrible murder mystery that you have to sort of get to the bottom of. And I fell for it hook, line and sinker. I thought it was a real delight. And there is scope, I think, to like to do a Paradise Killer 2, because the story revolves around this island that is constantly resetting. So I think it could be done, and I think it's sort of popular. Critically, it was popular enough. I don't know sales, to be honest. I don't know if the general public went for it, but it's just a delight.
I think it's quite a rare thing where just, a game comes along and you're instantly like, I'm into this studio. I gel with this studio's vibe. Like, this is what I want, more of this. Yeah,
and I definitely want more of Paradise Killer. Terrific. So yes, Paradise Killer, congratulations on your Spotty Award. It's in the post. So Matthew,
it's not in the post.
What is another video game that you enjoyed in 2020?
Another game I enjoyed is Death Stranding. Hideo Kojima's delivery simulator. A game which I bounced off massively when it came out on PS4.
You didn't play much of it, though. I remember you saying this.
No, I did. I only played a couple of hours and was like, nah, this is not for me. And I had to play more of it for work purposes, obviously, for RPS. And I absolutely fell in love with this game. Its weakest stuff is right at the start, I think. Its weakest stuff is whenever it goes full story, and it's like Kojima at its most self-indulgent. But once
the amount of cutscenes and just...
But once that stuff subsides, this is Kojima and Kojima's studio. I think at their most magic. I really connected with this game. The kind of chill rhythm of walking across this landscape, the way it rejects so much logic of like the open world game. Like, it is not another Ubisoft map clearing game. It's a huge map, but the map is purely like a landscape for you to try and navigate to get to locations. There are enemies and things you can find along the way, but really it's about the act of moving through a landscape, where I think most open world games are about the act of doing something at a destination. Here, like, you just go and you hand a package. You don't really do anything there. It's not like you're clearing out enemy camps, or you're, completing spirit visions or any of the kind of nonsense from Assassin's Creed.
I'm very sure that I'm not the first person to say this, but like, this is a walking simulator. Like, in the sense that you have these, all these heavy packages, and you have to try and balance the weight of the packages.
That's it. And the risk reward system at the heart of it is this debate of like the ambition of what you want to deliver versus your actual technical ability. The more stuff you carry, the harder it's going to be. If you really weigh yourself down with loads of stuff because you want to make fewer trips, but then if you run into like mad ghosts or enemies, that's going to cause you trouble. There are all these very like hands-on tools, like ladders for crossing rivers or climbing up cliffs. You can use climbing ropes to descend. It's not baked in. It's not like press X to use the ladder on the ladder spot. You can put this stuff anywhere and really throw yourself at this landscape in an organic way. And then on top of that, there's this amazing kind of like, I don't know, call it a meta game as such, but like this sort of online sort of asynchronous thing where everyone else who is also playing their own single player games, some of the stuff they place in their world to help themselves, some of the structures they can build to help themselves kind of bleed into your game or other people's games. So the more you play it, the landscape becomes just kind of friendlier by dint of all these structures, all these tools kind of bleeding into your game. And it feels like you and a load of invisible friends are like conquering this inhospitable environment. And it's genuinely like a brilliant feeling, especially there's this giant motorway. I've talked about this loads of times on the channel, but there's this big motorway that you kind of collectively build by donating kind of materials to it. And once you build this motorway, it makes a lot of the map a lot easier to kind of deal with it. You can basically just zip along this motorway on a bike and not have to worry about all the kind of monsters and crap on the ground below. But this sense of like we've really achieved something together is genuinely like very strong, and it's stuff which I would normally like think is going to be just total wank when they talk about it. Like, oh, this game's about like interconnectivity, man. I'm like, oh, sure it is. But actually, here I was like, yes, humankind is okay. We have conquered this marshland together. And
that's the thing. Like when he was saying, no, Death Stranding is different, like in pre-release console, like Death Stranding is different. You need to play it. You'll see what it's like. Everyone was saying, nah, it's this is another example of him talking bullshit. But
no,
yeah, like the multiplayer aspect of it does feel, yes, it is certainly Soulsy. Like it's not entirely original, but it feels like I don't know, the advanced version of the like messages and souls.
Well, yeah. I think the fact that you're building this substantial infrastructure together, it means it's got its own vibe. I just love the look of the world. And actually, all that stuff is great. And as it goes on, I did warm to the story a bit. Some of the characters I quite like. It's got these quite cinematic moments where, you've just had a horrendous boss fight and then you've got to walk like 3 minutes of walking down a hill to a base, and it will just start playing some sort of, indie band that Kojima likes. But it is really striking in those moments. There are a lot of things where you're like, oh, this is a kind of Kojima moment. He's the only person who does stuff like this. Obviously, I know he's got this brilliant studio around him and who are kind of also enacting this stuff and adding their own ideas. But there's stuff which feels quite kind of specific to him and his games. I thought this was absolutely magic. It looks amazing on PC as well. And I've been talking about this with a few other friends. Like, it feels like this game's had a much better response on PC. Like, it maybe fits PC better than it did console. It's kind of a bit weirder, a bit more idiosyncratic, the kind of walking sim thing. Like, if you like big landscapes, if you don't mind an absence of action or indeed logic for large chunks of the game, that's fine. Maybe it's just because we have a bit of distance from when the game came out, where at the time it felt like a lot of the reviews were just like, I didn't know how to deal with this mad thing because it wasn't what they expected, or no one knew what to expect, or the hype cycle around Kojima's next game had like screwed with people's heads. But with a bit of distance and hindsight, I think this is actually like pretty spectacular game. And I have a renewed excitement for like what Kojima does next. Yeah, great game.
Congratulations, Death Stranding. It's not in the post. A video game that, I mean, I feel like I'm going down, it was very much a nostalgic year for me. But another game that when it was announced, I was like, yeah, but can it live up to the at least the first 2 games in the series? And it did. Streets of Rage 4. This one just really blew me away because it has been, I think I'm getting this right. I should have checked beforehand. I think it's been 26 years since Streets of Rage 3, which is like a ludicrous gap between that and this one. Yes, what they did, and that's a lot of time to rethink Streets of Rage and to go, right, it's got to be modern, it's got to have skill trees, it's got to have, cutscenes, it's got to have like what, but instead what they did was look at what people love about Streets of Rage, which in general is the punching and the kicking. And they have just fleshed that out by doing things that aren't revolutionary, but are, I mean, I suppose they fit so well. You're like, well, just seems odd that this wasn't here before. Now that I'm just noticing it now. But things like the combo counter, obviously they couldn't do the online leaderboard back then, but the online leaderboard helps as well because this is like the campaign itself is an afternoon an afternoon's worth of entertainment. It's not going to take you forever. But that, like, I don't know, to me, that's fine. Because again, this is, I suppose, on the Mega Drive, I never really played Streets of Rage like it was a score attack game, really.
Right.
But because of the combo counter and the leaderboard,
you just played it for the chicken.
I played it for the chicken. I played it for the fat lads who breathed fire in my face. I played it for all that. But like, yeah, with more of a focus on scores, then I was 100% diving back in. And like, they're actually, like in the original Streets of Rage games, you know, you picked your character and that was it. Whereas with this, it's like you can change in between levels. You can also add, actually, I'm trying to remember I think it's the star attacks that you can add to give you more star attacks at the beginning of a level, which are just these special attacks that will help you if you are having trouble with a particular level, which will then impact your score at the end. So it just seems, I suppose, more accessible than previously, and more. I mean, Streets of Rage 2 still has a very special place in my heart. I don't know if I go that far and say it's my favorite one, but like, it's certainly up there. It's certainly close because, like, whilst nostalgia is the hook with the Streets of Rage game, of course it is those little tweaks. And on top of those, you have like your new hand-drawn art style, which is just gorgeous. And the music as well, which just absolutely blew me away. Like
my favorite thing I think you did for the channel while we were working on it together was the Streets of Rage review. And when you were talking about the music, that kind of brought it to life, I think.
Thank you very much. It's very nice of you to say, Matthew. But because it's done in such a way where, and I think it's really cleverly done. And like, you know, if you just play the game, it's not like you're going to spot it. Like, you have to maybe do a little bit of research and find out who composed what. But like, you can still hear the influence of like the original Streets of Rage composer. He begins the game. And his sound is a little bit more chiptune-y, a little bit more old school. And I think brilliantly, there's a part in the opening level where a car smashes into the wall of a building. And as soon as that happens, you bring in the new composer, Olivier de Rivière, who is, again, it's clear he's taken influence from the original man. But it feels more rich. It's a more fuller sound. The best way to describe it is it's sort of like, it sounds like a song that, and there is a caveat here, Matthew, you know, if you're into electronic music, but it sounds like a song that you already have on your Spotify. So like it doesn't reinvent the wheel, but I don't think it needed to. I think it needed a little oil, I suppose, and Axel Stone with a beard, and Adam and his lovely yellow shirt and black braces, and the fact that he can now shoot dragons from his feet. So I was like, yeah, all for that. I just, loved it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, Streets of Rage 4. Congratulations on your Spotty Awards. So Matthew, what's another one of your favourite games of 2020?
So I was torn between this one and the one that I pick for my best game of the year. But the one that came second place, almost made it, is Half-Life Alyx. Which is obviously Valve's return to the Half-Life universe in the form of VR. Oh, it's my stream. Oh, that was fun. That's one of the best things I did on this channel, that stream. I wish I'd done the whole game. I had such a laugh doing that. But this is a game that lets you have such a laugh. It's VR, but done Valve style with this incredible playfulness and attention to detail. I mean, it's the best looking VR game I've played, I think. And in terms of just the interactivity of the world, the amount of stuff you can do and arse around with, it's just phenomenal. I mean, just ignoring the excitement of being back in the Half-Life universe and getting more of the story, and it does deliver some amazing story beats. The end of it is particularly astonishing if you're into the the Half-Life thing and have been longing for more. But just as an experience of like feeling like you're in a place and having things react in your hands, and to be able to pick up props and see that they have weird little features, they really have thought of everything. And they thought about the limitations of VR and worked that into the mechanics. So you've got these gravity gloves that basically let you flick things into your hands, pull things with a yank. So it just makes, while it has some of the most precise VR controls I've seen in a game, it also doesn't rely on them. You can stand there and just bring stuff to you. You don't have to go and interact very carefully, So it's both a mechanic and a fix, which is just it feels like classic Valve to me. The variety of the stages, the levels you go through, it really feels like you've been on a journey. It does that thing of like that classic Half-Life thing of like levels have a mechanic that's kind of bespoke to them, something which most people could build an entire game out of. And they're like, yeah, we've done that for half an hour. Let's move on and do another thing. I mean, but it really is kind of a combination of like seeing VR done just like beautifully and brilliantly, and also being reminded of like no one really does sort of single player first person campaigns like Valve. It will really make you want them to just make Half-Life 3, because you're like, these guys have still got it, in spades.
Do you think that, and I understand, it's like saying, what would Arkham Asylum be like without Batman? It's like, well, it's not. It's a Batman game, so, but
yeah.
Do you think that, if we all had VR headsets or this wasn't VR, although from my understanding, like, it's a game that's it has to live within VR.
Yeah.
Do you think that the only reason basically there aren't more people talking about this game come the end of 2020 is because we don't all own Oculus headsets?
Yeah, well, 100%. It's a huge barrier to entry. I mean, I think if you have a VR headset that can play this game well, I'd be very surprised if this wasn't on your best game.
Yeah.
It would take extreme contrarian to be into VR and then to play this and be like, nah, not really.
Not for me.
I mean, it's exceptional. Maybe like individual elements have been done better by other studios. Maybe there are games with better shooting or games with better this, that, or the other. But as a whole, this is just the complete experience. I mean, it's a level of budget and polish most people just can't risk on VR because you just don't have the audience. I mean, here it's like, I mean, normally you say vanity project as if it's it's a big negative kind of criticism, but this is a studio that can afford, it has a lot of money and can afford, probably the only studio on the planet who can afford to pump this much resource into a VR game. I'm so glad someone did. I mean, it's single-handedly I wouldn't say buy a VR helmet just to play this. I keep calling it headset. But, I wouldn't buy any hardware for one game, I don't think. But this is, this is spectacularly good. I mean, so playful, really scary as well. I've just been reminded of some of the scary bits. There are set pieces in this which are as good as any set piece in any game. There's a thing where you're basically trapped in this sort of is it a vodka distillery, if that's the right term for it, with this blind monster that can hear you, and if you make any noise and you're trying to creep around it and it's kind of shuffling around, but the environment is designed that there are loads of things you can like knock over, and you're constantly doing that thing in great thrillers where like you open a cupboard and a bottle will fall out of the cupboard and you quickly catch it in your hand and you're like, oh shit. It is.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It delivers like film moments like that so well. I mean,
that's weird. That's actually, that's cinematic, not like
it's really good. Honestly, there's wizardry in this game. If VR headsets were like cheap and everywhere, I would say this is my game of the year. Absolutely play it. But just on the sort of financial accessibility element of it, that's slight. It makes it slightly harder to just say like this is the best game of the year, because not everyone can experience it and enjoy it, but it is. It's absolutely essential.
Yeah, so congratulations, Valve, and Half-Life Alex. A famous Mystery Steam review you gave us. Awesome sex. That's when we were still figuring out the format. But yes.
I don't know if we've got any better.
One of my, and again, you know, I was like, is this my favorite game of the year? And I was like kind of tussling with it, and I was like, I don't think quite, but again, still a marvelous achievement what they've done here, because of how they've changed a series that I suppose was so set in its ways. Yakuza Like a Dragon. I mean,
lads.
It's mad to think that this began life as an April Fool's joke. Like we all saw the combat system. We're just thinking, oh yeah, you know, the good one, Sega. And I was like, oh no, you're actually going to do this now. Okay, fair enough. But they, you know, like an established brawler was Yakuza, and taking that sort of urgent, very frantic battle style and putting it in what I suppose I perceived, at least prior to release, to be kind of a more slowed down version. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get on with this, but I just fell for it, hook, line, and sinker. I think it's very good actually at keeping the urgency of the combat system in the previous Yakuza games by, like, you know, when you're in control of the battle, you have plenty of time to pour over whatever powers are available to your party. But when the enemy is attacking you, it's not like you put down the controller. Like, you know, you can parry their attacks. There's also, like, you know, you need to be on the ball just in case an enemy is on the ground when you're given control, because when you attack them, your attack will have it'll damage them more, basically. So it's just, I feel like the urgency is it's intact. But
yeah,
like, and I know I said it, like, you have plenty of time to look over their abilities of all your party. I mean, and what abilities, Matthew? Like, you brought up, and I thought it was a great observation at the time, when comparing Watch Dogs Legion's characters' abilities to Yakuza Like a Dragon's characters' abilities. Because in Yakuza Like a Dragon, like, classes are represented as different jobs that these people have. I mean, some of the jobs are suspect, like breakdancer. I don't know if there's much money in that, but maybe there is in Yokohama. But, like, you know, you breakdancer, musician, chef, bartender, so on and so forth. And all the abilities that you can unlock, they feel specific to that class of character. And I think it's just marvelously done in that regard, because I think you're encouraged then to change class, to sort of see what other abilities there are.
You feel like you're missing out on, like, amazing jokes if you don't dig into the system.
Yeah. So, like, you know, it encourages you to mess around with that. So, like, you know, that alone, marvelous. But I know, like, some people will say it's outrageous for me to say goodbye to Kazuma Kiryu quite happily in Yakuza 6, but I was, because, like, I felt like his story had come to an end, and, you know, let's see what this new lad Ichiban Kasuga is like. And I think while it's you know, it's his story, it is sort of more of an ensemble piece as well. Like, it's about his friends that are going on this journey. But, like, even Kasuga alone, he's completely different to Kiryu. You know, he's not the stone-faced, hard-nosed brawler type. He's very endearing because of his optimism on absolutely everything. And I think the building blocks are there to create this new era of Yakuza with him and with Nanba and Psycho and Adachi. Like,
I think it's the combination of them that make it for me. Like, I like him individually, but, like, the fact that it's got this sort of big middle-aged man energy with Namba and co. I think that's what makes it. Like, I'd want to play more with these people.
Yeah, no, like, and I mean, the Yakuza series typically has a different crop of characters each time. Yeah, it'll have Kiryu and maybe a Majima and whoever else, but the characters that you spend your time with typically have been different characters. Whereas with your party in this, like, I want, like you said, I want Yakuza 8 or Yakuza Like a Dragon 2, whatever it is, to be these four again. I want more of that party, more of their story, because I love their interactions. You know, like Namba, for example, is such a sarky little bastard, but at the end of the day, he'll be like, yeah, you know, we're pals. Of course I'll do it for you, reluctantly, but I'll still do it for you. It's just a lovely energy that they all have. And that tied into the combat system and some mini games which are better than others. You know, I don't think it's the best in the series, perhaps, but still, all told, I was like, to take something that is so established in Yakuza and to just flip it on its head with this JRPG system, and even for it to make sense within the world. Like, in a world where you don't really have to make sense of much things because it's full of melodrama and just grown men in nappies and just ludicrous things. Like, they've made the battle system make sense by having Kasuga be this massive fan of Dragon Quest, and it's what he sees in his head. I think it's just...
Yeah, it's...
I don't know. The more I think about it and the more I talk about it, I'm like, oh, what a marvelous video game. So yes, great. Yakuza Like a Dragon. Congratulations on your Spotty Award 2020. But now it's the big time, Matthew. What is your game of the year for 2020?
Yeehaw! It's Desperados 3. It's cowboys. I love cowboys, but it's tiny little cowboys. And I love these tiny little sort of isometric dioramas. This is the real-time stealth tactics game from Me, who made Shadow Tactics, which was the sort of ninja-y real-time stealth tactics game. This is, of course, a continuation of the famous Desperado series from the early noughties, I think, rather than the late 90s. If you've played Desperados or Commandos, this will probably seem quite familiar to you, but you command a little kind of group, a little party of heroes. This varies from just 1 to 5 people, and they all have different abilities. It's a game about sneaking into places. You have guns, but if you get into an out-and-out gunfight, you're going to die really, really quickly, and it's not really in the spirit of the thing. So it's all about looking at guard patrol patterns, looking at their vision cones, and then using a combination of abilities to set up traps and distractions and basically unpick these very hectic networks of enemy placements and obstacles using these fun powers. What I love about this game is Me have taken this quite old, I wouldn't say unloved genre. There's a lot of nostalgia for it, but there haven't been many games made in it over the years. You know, there was a time where it felt like there was quite a lot of these games being made, and then they kind of went out of fashion a bit. But they've taken this genre and they've really dragged it into the modern age with just an amazing interface, which isn't a sexy thing to say, but this is a triumph. It is a triumph of
but I think
showing you information, and it's a game where you need to have command of information to have a chance of surviving, but you sort of know how everyone's going to react. You know what everyone can see. It's really like on the level with you, which I love. There's no sort of vagueness to this at all.
And I think that's very important, because like it is spoilers, like this is probably going to be my 2020 game of the year. I just haven't had enough time with it. But like everything about it, I'm just like, I love the look, the feel, everything. But like it is, there are a lot of complex systems at play. And I think how they have laid it out on screen is masterful, you know?
Yeah, and the campaign is designed that it kind of introduces you to each character. It really does kind of layer on the kind of difficulty and the extra kind of things to worry about. I think slightly better maybe than Shadow Tactics did. I think it's a bit more accessible because of that. I just love that this idea of having this party and using them in unison. For me, it really taps into the kind of like the magic of a great heist film, and I think I said this in the video review, which is a video I'm probably most proud of this year. About it really makes me think of like Mission Impossible. You know, when you have this situation and they've each got their own ability, and then Tom Cruise says, well, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And this is a game where you kind of go through that process, but then it's also got the systems in place that you can like pause things and like program in moves that people are going to do and then trigger them later. You can set these great big kind of sort of almost domino rallies of sort of stealth takedowns so that you can pick off everyone without anyone else noticing. And you just feel like an absolute kind of badass when you do this. It's a genre I think a lot of people think is quite nerdy, but I think it does have thrills. I think when it all pulls off, works, everything works as you designed. You know, it's as thrilling as anything really. And also, because of how clear it is, and because of the fact that you can pause the action and program in moves, I think anyone can pull off kind of quite advanced stuff with this. You don't have to, you could, like, I'm actually not great at this game compared to like some people. If you watch the speed runners, a level that takes me 2 hours, they do in 10 minutes. And it is just terrifying the speed they go at. But that shows the kind of depth and sort of adaptability, I guess, of the systems, that it can work like that. But I just thought this was great. And if you are a Western fan, every level is just like a huge, like, classic trope. And the campaign takes you from kind of just about every sort of Western scenario you could want. They've each got like a gimmick or a hook or something big and exciting. It looks beautiful. The art design on this game and the music as well, the way that channels kind of spaghetti Western, kind of Morricone stuff. I thought this was an absolutely class act. If you're into real-time tactics game, this is just such a supreme creation. I absolutely love this. I may have even joked in the video that like maybe it resonates because it's a game about like taking control and like imposing this kind of clockwork order on a world. And maybe that appeals in the kind of chaotic year that has been 2020. But even that aside, I think this is a real gem. And Me have now announced that they're working on their next game. It's got this sort of secret project name. They're publishing it for themselves. They're kind of taking their fate into their own hands. This is a great studio. This is a great game. I wish more people were pumped and excited for it. I don't know. It hasn't been in the RPS Advent calendar yet. I hope that it does because it's my game of the year, I think.
Well, you know what, Matthew? Like here, some would say a Spotty Award is the true award that everyone wants. So congratulations, Desperados 3 and Me, on your Matthew's Game of the Year 2020 Spotty Award. My video game of the year is one that I suppose again caught me by surprise, and I suppose maybe it shouldn't have, because I do like this developer. They have whilst I wouldn't be raving about any of their games previously, I've always been a fan of their games, but this is most definitely their finest work. My game of the year for 2020 is Hades. Hades is, it's a roguelite that's not bad. Like, it's a roguelite. And what I mean by that, of course, is that it's a roguelite that appeals to people who don't normally like roguelites or roguelikes, because it marries its story and it's the permadeath and the meta progression expertly. And I suppose Supergiant have done similar things, or they've melded together mechanics and games previously in expert ways. But I think this is just like an absolute masterpiece. Because, roguelites is a genre that if you're into them, you are very much into them. But I feel like for someone like me who maybe likes a reason to be kind of in this world and progressing through it, or even somebody who, the older I get, Matthew, the less likely I am to enjoy a video game, which after 2 hours of play, it says, yeah, fuck you, Colm, that 2 hours is gone because you died. And it's like, I don't want that. Whereas, yeah, Hades does it in a terrific way. Like, it's run based, but you carry through currency, you carry through certain things, but on top of that as well, it is the story. Like, every time you die, it's not really a massive, I suppose you shouldn't feel too downtrodden, because that's where you get to return to the House of Hades, which Hades is your dad. And it's also where you get to chat to all these characters like Hypnos, Achilles, Nyx, and they will, they may reference something that you did on your previous run, or something that you have done on the past couple of previous runs, or a character that you came across while you were out there in the underworld. And it is, I suppose, it deepens your relationships with them, and thus the game as well. And even the characters you come across I'm reminded of the characters that, like, the bosses you come across will reference previous battles you've had with them as well. It is like, so just in that regard alone, I think it's brilliantly done. But it wouldn't be much, I suppose, if the combat was shite. So thankfully, it's not. Again, like, so much variety here, and so much reason to go back and have another go at escaping the underworld. Like, you have 6 different weapons that are all, all different enough in their own right. But then throughout your run, you'll come across other gods that will give you boons, which are just these different powers. And the powers you get from there, so like the gods will be random anyway, first of all, keeping that kind of, exciting and fresh, or what's it going to be. But the boons they'll present to you can interact with each other and your weapon as well. So whilst in your head you may have this like perfect build of what your Zagreus, the protagonist, like what they are, like you can sort of stumble upon something too, you may love Artemis and Poseidon's water-based abilities, but Zeus and Ares could come along and you could be like, these work quite well together too. Maybe I should use that and the shield, or whatever it is. It just all works in concert together superbly. And it's like, even with a back catalogue of, like, Bastion, Transistor and Pyre, like, this is, I think it'll take a lot of topping, or it'll take a lot for Supergiant to top this. I think it is just, it is absolutely marvellous.
I've got a big important question for you, because I've played a little bit of this, and most of my relationship with Hades has been viewing the discourse on social media and whatnot, which mainly seems to be people lusting after the gods. Do you lust after the gods? And if so, which gods do you lust after?
Oh, I lust after the gods, Matthew. I lust after the gods. I mean, I'm quite a fan of Dionysus. He's this flirty, chilled, laid-back god who he'll never say no to a glass of wine. He's one of my favourites. I do like, who else is another one of my favourites? I mean, Artemis is pretty good. More business, really, rather than pleasure. It's hard to pick a favourite, Matthew. They are all impossibly sexy, and Yeah, they just, you know, every single one of them have their positives, Matthew.
Impossibly sexy. I think that's also been said of the Weekspot at times.
So yes, Hades, congratulations on your Columns Game of the Year 2020 Spotty Awards. So yeah, that is 2020 done. What did you think of 2020 overall, Matthew, for video games?
It's sort of weird. For a lot of the year, I thought this year doesn't have like a knockout punch. But actually, when I was looking over everything, there's a lot of stuff I really liked. I don't think there was, for me, like a game which entered my like all-time classics, which I have had in recent years. So I had Obra Dinn 3 years ago, a couple of years ago, or last year, Outer Wilds. Absolutely blew me away. I don't think there's a game I've loved as much as those, but I've generally liked a lot more stuff across the board. I've been really surprised by stuff as well. Yeah. Like there's a lot of stuff on my list I wouldn't have at the start of the year I wouldn't have thought would end up on my, you know, my top 5 or my top 10.
I mean, it's worth pointing out, you know, like some of the bit, like no Assassin's Creed in either of our lists. No,
for the record, I
know.
Really rate Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. It almost made my top 5. I did really like it. I think I like it more than other people. I don't know why. Maybe it's the setting. It really reminds me of The Witcher 3, which is probably a big in terms of the kind of countryside and everything, which is a factor.
But I would generally agree with you. I think it has been. I think Hades for me is like pretty close to masterpiece. I think that is magnificent.
The way people talk about Hades is the way you talk about like a classic for the ages. I just haven't spent enough time with it myself.
Like, on the whole, I think it's been like, I don't know, it is an odd one, isn't it? Because I was thinking like, it's been an all right year, but then when you start to list the games, you go, it's like there has been some.
It's kind of. I think it picked up these last couple of months. I thought it was actually quite strong in the early months. It all got a little bit. Matthew, you're getting fired in autumn, which kind of distracted from it. But after that, things picked up around launch. You have Cyberpunk as well, which I probably would put in my top 10 for all its flaws. The bits I like in Cyberpunk, I like as much as anything else this year. Like, I think the characters and the stories like that like resonated with me, and you know, the kind of the more sort of romantic side of that game, which I really liked. That isn't the horny sex scenes. That's the stuff with like Johnny Silverhand's friends and everything, where he kind of gets to know them again. I really loved that stuff. I thought it was really sort of subtle and well done. But as an overall game, it didn't quite click together for me.
I'm sure we'll be, because I'm going to be playing it over the Christmas, so we'll probably have more Cyberpunk chat to talk about next week. But, and I'm sure it'll be in the news again, because it always is. Yeah, I'm already quite excited about next year too. I think there's some good stuff. Man, am I jonesing for some Hitman 3 in January? That is big on my to play list. Me too.
That is going to be a phenomenal start to 2021, I think.
Hitman, Deathloop. I don't know. You know what? We may start actually our first episode of 2021. We may start by doing a little look at what's coming out and saying what we're excited for. So yes, that's because, you know, Matthew, we don't want to fall into the Game Awards. The Game Awards trap of actually going whatever to the games that have gone. Let's look to the future. We're celebrating the past here today. So yes, congratulations to all of you wonderful, wonderful video games. Yes, Mystery Steam Reviews is the part of the PC Gaming Weekspot where I, Conor Mahern, and he, Matthew Castle, test the knowledge of one another via Steam Reviews. And today, it's no different. So the rules are as follows. Both I and Matthew bring 3 Steam reviews to the MSR arena, but we omit the name of the game associated with each review. Our opponent must correctly guess the game attached to each review. 1 correct answer equals 1 point. While both of us have 90 seconds on each MSR, we both also have help in the form of 3 lifelines. These lifelines can be used at any stage during battle and pause the 90-second timer, but they can only be used once, and they are as follows. Question, where the hot seat haver gets to ask a yes or no question. Second opinion, where a second review is given to the warm chair sitter. And genre, where the genre of the game is revealed to the one with the warm arse. Now, Matthew, this week we are focusing on Christmas / snowy, predominantly snowy and icy video games. Because there are Christmas games, but there aren't as many as Christmas games as Christmas movies, whatever. But there are a few, so we'll see if they pop up. So let's waste no more time. Let's get into it, Matthew. Would you like your first mystery Steam review? Incredibly atmospheric and immersive COVID-19 simulator. And that's from Big Jimmy. It's recommended. 140.3 hours on record, 137.2 at time of review. Your time, Matthew, starts now.
Right. Immersive COVID-19 simulator. So the world is diseased. There is a virus. It is set in winter or the snow, and there is a virus. You know what? Hit me up with my second review.
Okay, we're going to pause the timer there. And you're using your second opinion. Okay. So the second opinion for this game is better than Destiny 2. And your timer, unless you have a guess in you, your timer restarts now.
Oh, shit it now. So it's going to be a service game set in the snow? Better than Destiny 2. Won't be Destiny 1. A service game? I'm assuming. Oh no, that was a terrible use of second opinion. That hasn't helped me at all. Winter, snow. Better than Destiny 2. What is the similarity with Destiny 2? And COVID, like a virus thing. I keep thinking of like, not Left 4 Dead, like the Microsoft one, but it's not that. The
State of Decay.
State of Decay, yeah, it's not that. Not Dying Light. That's not set in winter. But Destiny, a game that's like Destiny.
10 seconds.
Shit me. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh,
give me a game.
Fuck it! I don't know. I don't know. That's got snow in it.
Is that your final answer?
Oh, I absolutely screwed it. Yeah, that's my final answer.
So, you knew there was a virus involved of some kind, and you, via the second opinion, you have decoded that this is some sort of live service game, which has led you to The Long Dark, a survival game that is set in the snow. It's very snowy. So I can tell you, Matthew, that The Long Dark is the wrong answer.
Surprising no one.
The correct answer, and I was hoping you were going to get this because we would be able to show off the kind of new friendlier sort of thing, because I mean the full name of this game is Tom Clancy's The Division, but I would have given you The Division, you know, in the new era of Mystery Steam reviews.
Oh, The Division. All I could think of was service games was Marvel's Avengers. And I was like, are they saying it's worse than the plague? Like, to play this game? That's why it's like COVID? Oh, The Division. That's actually fair enough. It's a Christmas game.
Mm-hmm. It is, yeah, and it is actually set at Christmas, isn't it? I'm pretty sure. It's not just snowing.
I am annoyed, but it's not unfair. So, you know, in the Christmas spirit,
yeah, let's be a bit cheerier in this.
I love to lose.
Excellent. Matthew, could I have my first Mystery Steam review, please?
Falling down 300 meters, landing on my ass, breaking every bone, standing up again and saying, that was awesome. 10 out of 10. That's from Juhu, recommended 13.2 hours, 12.5 at the time of review.
Time starts now. Huh. So you fall... There's verticality in this? Breaking every...
300 meters worth.
Breaking every bone in my body, standing up again and saying, that was awesome. And that was awesome is in quotes, but I'd imagine that isn't attributed to the character.
I don't know if that's a catchphrase.
I have no clue. No clue. So I'm going to pause the timer at 59 seconds. And I am going to... Could I have my genre, I think, Matthew?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, could I have my genre?
Genre as described on Wikipedia.
Indeed.
This is described as a sports video game.
Restarting the timer now. That was an amazing use of genre, because I think this is steep. It has to be steep. What a phenomenal use of genre. I forgot steep existed until just now. Matthew, steep.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
So you looked at this, you saw the 300 meters, and you correctly identified that this was a game with some verticality.
Some.
You then used genre, which revealed this to be a sports video game, and that has brought you to steep. But is steep the correct answer? The correct answer is... steep! Superb use of genre.
Yes.
Superb use of genre.
Thank you very much. I don't know what spurred me on to use genre there, but yeah.
Absolutely superb.
Thank you. I'm enjoying this more cheery Mystery Steam reviews.
That is Mystery Steam reviews as it's meant to be played. Like, as much as I hate you and your guts, I love to see the game played well.
Who doesn't?
I love the game more than I hate
me.
You.
Thanks. What a lovely thing to say. Christmas cheer. Matthew, would you like your second Mystery Steam review?
Yes.
Very challenging and engaging gameplay. The graphics are supreme and the storyline is fun to follow. Can't wait to finish this trilogy. And that's from CVP. It's recommended 33.6 hours on record, 32.7 hours at time of review. Your time starts now.
Right. This is quite vague. Challenging, engaging gameplay, graphics. The only specific information this gives is trilogy. So it's got to be a trilogy which has an icy segment. Now, this instantly brings to mind Rise of the Tomb Raider, which starts on a very snowy mountain, has a very long snowy section before getting to the geothermal valley, of course, where things hot up. But I'm also thinking of Gears 5 also has an extended frosty bit, which is the second part of a trilogy. But would you think of Gears 4, 5, and 6 as a trilogy? I don't know that you would. You know? It's a second trilogy, but I don't think people... Or do they think of it as a collection of sixes? A six...
Septet?
Yeah.
Sectet?
I tell you what, hit me out with genre.
Okay, we're going to pause the timer there at 23 seconds.
I feel like I'm in the ballpark with these two, but I'm hoping a genre may clarify it.
Okay, so the genre of this video game is an action-adventure video game.
Interesting.
Would you like it? Do you want a guess, or shall I?
I'm gonna go with Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
So, you saw that little trilogy mention and really zoned in on that. Decided...
Because the rest of it was bullshit.
And decided that this must be either the Tomb Raider reboot or sort of the second Gears of War trilogy, 4 to 6. But you've ended up on Rise of the Tomb Raider, a game that begins in Siberia. Large snowy section in that. And I can tell you, Matthew, that Rise of the Tomb Raider is the right answer. Well done. Well done. I get a good use of genre there. I'm guessing the Gears genre would have been third-person shooter, whatever it is. Spotted the trilogy. Well done, Matthew. Terrific play. Terrific play. So, now we are level 1-1. So, could I have my second Mystery Steam review, Matthew, please?
Shot a Christmas elf in the balls with a metal slingshot. Threw a rotten egg at Santa. 11 out of 10. It's okay. That's from Daxter M89. They recommend it with 52.5 hours on record, but only 14.4 at the time of review.
Time starts now. Shot a... So you've... Hold on, I was going to say you've a gun. You don't have a gun. You have a metal slingshot. Because I was going to say, is this Hitman Blood Money? Which has the Christmas level. But it's... Can you get a metal slingshot in Hitman? Like, because, it's playful, but at the same time, and Hitman quite po-faced, but also playful. What do I have? Second opinion and question. I'm going to pause the timer. Can I have my second opinion, Matthew, please? I think that might help me.
Is great for kids with anger issues.
Okay. Restarting the timer, 52 seconds now. Great for kids with anger issues. Angry kids. Angry kids in the game, or angry kids in... Or is there angry kids in real life and they can really... I don't know, live their life in the game? Angry children. Children in games. There's a Christmas... I think... Why is this pop? I feel like this would only pop into my head if this is correct. But I'm pretty sure there's a Christmas level or section or bit. Because you play the school year, don't you? I think this might be Canis Canimedit / Bully. If you'll accept either. Yeah. Oh. Throwing Christmas elf. Metal slingshot. That's kid-like. Canis Canimedit / Bully. Either of them.
Is that your final answer?
That is my final answer, and don't be mean now and say I submitted Canis Canimedit / Bully as an answer. You know what I'm getting at.
If it is indeed the correct answer.
If it is indeed the correct answer, yes.
So, you looked at this, you wondered, could it be Hitman? Does Hitman ever throw a rotten egg at Santa? Does it sound like Agent 47? You then used your second opinion. Great for kids with anger issues. This is a game about kids with anger issues? Or is it a game for kids with anger issues? Correct answer is Bully.
Yes! Get in! All smiles, Matthew. All smiles, please. It's Christmas. It's Christmas. Terrific. Thank you, Matthew. I can see you are delighted for me. You're very gracious. Happy with that. Again, I'm happy with my use of my second opinion there. Matthew, would you like your third and final Mystery Steam review?
Hit me up.
It still baffles me how they can make a zombie killing extravaganza this boring and tedious. And that's from Dry Axe. It's not recommended, with 1.9 hours on record. Your time starts now.
This is Dead Rising 4. That's my final answer.
You have your question, if you'd like to use that.
It's Dead Rising 4, final answer.
You know, you have 1 minute and 19 seconds left.
Dead Rising 4. That's a game. It's set at Christmas. You fight zombies. It's shit. It's that. It's that.
Dead Rising 4 is the right answer.
Yes.
Oh, I thought I was being intentionally nice, but at the same time, I didn't think you'd get it that quickly. So yeah, congratulations. You played Dead Rising 4? Not a fan.
Yes. I had to make loads of videos about it for the official Xbox YouTube channel, saying how good it was. Lol.
Never lose that integrity. Matthew, could I have my third and final Mystery Steam review, please?
Yeah. 10 out of 10. I've never been so scared of a librarian in my life. That's by Branch. They recommend it. 25.1 hours. 16 at the time of review.
Time starts now. I'm stumped. A librarian. A scary librarian. Oh, and I don't even know what question to ask. What game is there a scary librarian? Is there for some reason, is Outlast? Does that happen in a snowy place? Hold on. Silent Hill, that's foggy. Is it snowy? I'm just trying to think of like scary.
Silent Hill, I'd say Silent Hill is foggy, not snowy.
It's not snowy. So what horror games happen in snowy / icy locations? I think you stumped me on this one, Matthew. Do you know what? I don't know if it'll help me that much. I'm going to pause the timer, and I am going to use my question just so I can either concentrate on this this line of thinking that I'm on, or I can just completely disregard it for the following 36 seconds. Is this game a horror game?
It has horror. It has horror elements. One second. This isn't its full genre, but within its genre, it does contain survival horror.
Okay. Thank you. It was very Christmas-like of you to give me such a detailed answer. I appreciate it. Okay, so restarting the timer now. So survival horror is in the genre, but it's like, it's not a full horror. What is that? So is it like a Bioshocky thing where it's like, it's horror, but it's not? Oh, God. It's Metro. Which Metro? Is it? I mean, it might be Metro 2033. Metro 2033. Chris,
is that your final answer?
That is my final answer. That's my. I got so excited, my tie came off.
Oh
sorry.
my word! Please put your tie back on. We're going to go
live on ITV.
Let's go to an advert break while he puts his tie back on. You've got for Metro 2033. You are basing this on it having survival horror elements. Metro series indeed has survival horror elements, but is this the correct Metro game? Does Metro 2033 have a character called the Librarian in it? The correct answer is Metro
Exodus
2033.
Yes! Oh, get in!
Look at that. 3 for 3.
Oh, happy with that.
A Christmas miracle.
Indeed. But, you know, I couldn't have done it without the terrific competitor in you, Matthew. In the new year, we can go back to being petty and horrible, but I feel like for Christmas, it's nice to be nice. That is the end of this special edition of the PC Gaming Weekspot. Shorter than usual, but we wanted to just focus on celebrating the games that came out in 2020 that we thoroughly enjoyed. So, if you enjoyed PC Gaming Weekspot, this edition or any of the editions, there are multiple ways that you can, I don't know, get more of me and Matthew, basically. You can follow us on social media. I am at Colm_Ahern. Matthew is at Mr. Basil Pesto, Mr. Basil _Pesto. And if you want to talk to some like-minded people, get on Discord, discord.gg/rockpapershotgun. Also, if you want to watch the video version of this, head to youtube.com/rockpapershot, where you can like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, all of that stuff. Also, if you prefer the audio version, subscribe to the PC Gaming Weekspot via all your podcatching apps like Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, all of them. So just search for the PC Gaming Weekspot, you'll find it there. And while we didn't have any burning questions this week, we will in the new year. So, send all of your burning questions to weekspot@rockpapershotgun.com. But for all of your PC gaming needs, head to rockpapershotgun.com. 2020 in the books, Matthew.
What a shiter of a year.
Indeed. Fingers crossed 2021 will be a little bit better. Would be nice.
I hope so. Can't be much worse.
So, yes, thank you very much to anyone who has watched or listened to any edition of the PC Gaming Weekspot. You're all absolutely marvellous people.
We love you. Thank you so much.
Yes, and have a lovely, whatever you're celebrating, a lovely festive season. And just, eat loads and drink loads and responsibly and all that. Yes, indeed. But now it is time for my least favourite part of the show. This is the part of the show where it's bid the listener, the viewer, the consumer adieu. So say goodbye, Matthew.
Bye.
And say goodbye, Colm Ahern, Sloan, Gafford.